Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Today on the program, Chinese warships in and out of Philippine waters.
Nakakainis lang dahil tubig natin at warship sila, kung sana kung civilian, pinapatay pa nila yung kanilang identification system.
Military officials raising security concerns over the influx of Chinese nationals and POGO hubs.
Of course, lahat ng ito tinitingnan natin without being paranoid. Meron tayong high-low na sinasabi na ganyan yung possibilities.
Also reviving the anti-subversion law to fight communists.
Siguro dapat palitan na lang natin yung pangalan na anti-subversion law kasi parang allergic sila dito.
And probing anomalies within PhilHealth. Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon joins us live. Thank you for joining us. I'm Pinky Webb. Defense Chief Delphine Lorenzana calls the recent remarks of Chinese Ambassador Zhao Jinhua preposterous, following the Chinese envoy's statement that Filipinos working in China can be suspected to be spies. The comment comes after military officials expressed their concerns on POGO hubs and Chinese workers near military areas and how these hubs could shift operations to possibly spying. Also, Chinese warships recently spotted in Philippine waters and a proposal to revive a law that would make being a member of the Communist Party a crime. Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon. Senator, so good to see you again. It's been quite a while.
Yes, thank you for finding me relevant this morning, Vicky. Thank you very much for inviting
relevant,
me.
Sir. Excuse me. First of all, I want to congratulate you. You were honored in Iloilo for, many, many years of development in what used to be an area na hindi masyadong pinapansin to now a very thriving area.
Yes. Thank you very much, Pinky. And I'll jump ahead of your topic. One of my greatest pride is to be able to revive the Iloilo River and revive it. And there I worked closely with Gina Lopez because Gina was a warrior of the environment. And indeed, we are saddened by her passing. We express our condolence to the Lopez family. We're saddened by the death of Gina Lopez. As I said, we worked closely with her. We shared good practices, and I was convinced that she was good for the environment, and that's why I supported her fully when she was before the Commission on Appointments.
As Environment Secretary.
Unfortunately, yes, she left us, and we are saddened, and it is a void that is difficult to fill.
What would you most remember her by?
Her passion, her philanthropy. And indeed, she will not let anyone stand in the way in her passion to bring back the environment to where it should be.
I've had the opportunity to interview her a number of times, and she's a very fierce, unique character, somebody who's so full of life.
That's right, yes. That's why I said her passion to protect the environment is something that is difficult to replace.
Our condolences, of course, to the friends and family and all those lives Gina Lopez touched. All right, we're going to go to some of the topics that are also, making headlines. Sir, I'm going to start with POGO. A lot of discussion on POGOs lately in recent weeks. There is this concern now, and this is a whole topic that needs to be discussed, but the concern that possibly these POGOs, number one, are situated, not possibly, they are situated near military camps. First and foremost, do you find that concerning, sir?
Well, I support Secretary Lorenzana's recommendations. The security aspect is something that we cannot just brush aside. And that's the job of Secretary Lorenzana to advise us on matters of security. And he did mention that this poses some difficulty at the very least and danger to our security given the proximity of the POGO operations to the military and police camps. I cannot understand why it is so difficult to allow them only in areas where the security concerns will not be an issue. We have such a wide territory. In Manila, there are a lot of open spaces. I cannot understand why this concern, even assuming that there are some who doubt this. People from Malacanang doubt the concern of Secretary Lorenzana. But let's take a conservative approach.
Yeah.
Secretary Lorenzana is a competent official. He has nothing but good intentions, doing his job. Why don't we defer to his judgment? What's wrong with that?
Look at that, sir.
Yeah.
At the Senate, where you are housed,
Oh, yes.
where you hold office,
Yes.
there's a lot of POGO
Yes.
areas in
Pinky?
Mall of Asia.
Yes. When you go to that part of town, you would not think you are in Pasay. You would think you are in Beijing or in Shanghai, because you don't understand anymore what the people around you. You don't understand their language.
So it's not just beside military camps, not around, near military camps. They're near the Senate. Also, I don't know if there are any near the House of Representatives, but that's one. See, you see Camp Aguinaldo there, of course, and Crame, and then there are POGO places in Eastwood, in Cubao, and the Ortigas Center. So, is it concerning?
I'm sorry?
Is it concerning?
It is a concern.
Okay, but do you think, sir, Senator, that is purely coincidental? Yung kanilang pag...
Well, maybe it's not deliberate, but it gives an opportunity when there is need for it. It is convenient when there is a need for it. It's difficult not to recall the situation. Many Japanese citizens in the United States were in areas where you would think would become areas for spying, and yet suddenly when it happened, they were all there. I am not saying that Secretary Lorenzana concerns is not valid. We should defer to him. He has only good intention. I cannot understand why we cannot have the POGO operations farther away from the military.
Because there is that suggestion to put them in a hub. However, when we talk about them being situated near military camps, sir, you also have a number of congressmen also raising concern, Jericho Nograles. But one thing, sir, is that if they're in those hubs, they're possibly, even Secretary Lorenzana was saying, that is the job they're doing right now. But there is that chance that they could be used for information gathering.
That's right. Maybe not right now, but why should we leave that chance unchecked?
So here comes Secretary Salpanello now saying that with this kind of discussion, the Chinese ambassador actually sent him a text which he shared to media na sinagot din po ni Senator Ping Lacson. Ang sinabi po ni Chinese ambassador is this: what if we think your overseas workers are spying on us? What can you say about that? To which sumagot naman si Senator Ping Lacson and said, presidential spokesperson or Chinese embassy spokesman?
I would rather recall the statement of Secretary Lorenzana when he described that possibility of our Filipino workers in China spying for the Philippines as preposterous. In the first place, we will never go into war with China. Come on, we kill each other, and our Filipino workers there would be there to earn a living. And I cannot imagine they're being engaged in spying activities for the country. So I would associate myself with the statement of Secretary Lorenzana. This is preposterous. It's simply beyond the realm of possibilities.
So you are for possibly putting them in a hub, sir, placing the POGOs in certain hubs?
Yes, I would have no objection to that. Let's examine it closely. Let's put them in an area where the workers can also be protected, better secured. We keep on reading in media about untoward incidents, victimizing these workers, Chinese workers, although the perpetrators are also Chinese citizens. So,
recent one.
but nevertheless, it's a crime, and if putting them in a hub will put more security, why not?
Are you for POGOs though, sir?
I am not for POGOs. I am against gambling. Except that the reality here is that, and especially that POGOs, deprive our Filipino workers of an opportunity to earn a living. Yes, they are not adept at Mandarin, but it is not something that can be learned.
It's something that can be learned.
It can be learned.
Yeah.
Yes, it can be learned. And basically, POGO is a gambling operation. In China, it is illegal. Here, however, since we recognize the gaming industry, we did allow them to come in, but they must obey our laws. But of course, there is something that a certain sector of our economy would look at with concern, and this is the real estate industry. We know that the POGO operations have extensive, that the real estate industry has extensive exposure to the POGOs, and a closure of this may cause some difficulties at the very least, to say the least, on our real estate industry. But I am no economist, but I am certain this can be handled. In Cambodia, they closed the POGO operations.
You mean there were POGOs there before and it was shut down?
Yes. The head of the government, Mr. Hun Sen, just issued a decree. Bawal na po ang POGO sa Cambodia.
Would you rather na ipagbawal po siya dito?
Well, I am open to that. No? I would like to think that there is certainly a great merit in looking into that possibility of closing down these POGO operations.
While it's here, sir, just in very common sense and simple actions that the Senate can take, where do you begin? Do you begin with the visas being issued by the DOLE or the BI? Do you begin with PAGCOR, with the licenses or the permits? Where do you even start?
Well, you can start on all those fronts. For example, raise the issue as to why the licenses are issued to this POGO. What benefit do they have to the economy? All I can see is, a cash flow benefit to many retail industries. You see these POGO executives or workers with wads of peso bills buying in luxurious stores. You see them pay more than what the market asks for in the real estate transactions.
1 year in advance.
1 year in advance, yeah. But even the private sector. I talked to one of our big players in the real estate industry, and he's very, very conservative. He only allots 20% of his space for POGO operations. He requires 1 year advanced rental because he knows that any time of the day, these guys can pack up and go home.
Right.
And if you are financing your building by loans from banks, you'll have plenty of problems.
In the long run. We'll be taking a short break. Chinese warships in Philippine waters and the PhilHealth controversy. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today is Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon. Chinese warships. Okay, from POGO, let's go to Chinese warships. Senator, they passed through Palawan and Mindanao unannounced and no clearance, and they're turned off their identification system. I just want to put a brief background on this. On August, there were 3 warships that passed through Cebu to Strait in Tawi-Tawi. In July 2, there were 2 as well. The AFP saying they need clearance. What's going on, sir? What is happening?
We don't know. And that is precisely the cause of concern of many of us. We don't know what's happening there. And it is made worse by what appears to be the attitude and arrogance of the Chinese government in disregarding our territorial limits. And worst, not even observing rules of advising our armed forces of their passing through our waters. You know, from a policy standpoint, this is this must be corrected, because as we keep on tolerating this, it weakens further our claim over the West Philippine Sea. If we allow, you know, I'm not saying we obviously we have no capacity, Pinky, to send our Philippine Navy and stop them. But what is important is that we do not, we are consistent in making this, in protesting this to the Chinese government and asserting our sovereignty over the Philippine waters.
Through what? The DFA, sir?
Through the DFA,
Okay.
right, through the DFA. Because obviously we cannot wage a war against China, but through diplomatic pressure, through exposing them to international pressure and bringing this issue before international bodies, we can generate world opinion to put pressure on China. We cannot afford to the attitude, you know, hindi natin kaya yan, so we keep quiet. No, totally wrong. We should keep on asserting our sovereignty so that we, we will not be deemed to have given it up. This takes decades to be resolved. And if in that length of time we show that we are agreeing, or we show acquiescence to these activities, then you loosen your claim. You lose your claim to these territories.
The filing of diplomatic protests recently also by the DFA secretary, he said that fired off diplomatic protests again, sir. You know, Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana was here on the show, I would say, maybe 2 weeks ago, sir. And I asked him about the same issue, and he said that the Chinese ambassador told him that he wasn't aware of any warships passing through the Cebu Strait. And then I had Secretary Lorenzana as a guest, and then he said, nag-usap na daw sila ni Chinese ambassador, and the Chinese ambassador said, they will inform us. That was over, I would say, when was the State of the Nation address?
July
25,
26,
yeah, something like that, sir.
24?
And still, the secretary is saying, he calls it what now? An irritant?
Well, maybe at the start it's just an irritant, but if this goes on, it becomes more serious than simply being an irritant. As I said, it will erode our claim, our territorial claim as sustained by the arbitral court, and that is the danger. If we just watch this without saying anything, as I said, I repeat, we have no military capability, but we have the venues in the world stage available to us to bring this constantly to bodies, international bodies.
I know you're saying that this should go through the DFA, sir, but as senators, what can you do? I do know that you have this sense of the Senate where you collectively have a sentiment and air that, or
well, you know,
formalize
yes,
that.
that will certainly go a long way. And I urge our new committee chairman, Senator Coco Pimentel, to actively expose to public debate this issue of the West Philippine Sea.
The president is saying that he will bring up the arbitral ruling with the President Xi Jinping during his next visit. Exactly, sir, as Senator of the Republic, what do you want what do you want to hear from the president when he brings this up with the Chinese president?
That, in general, that our president should continue to assert our rights over the West Philippine Sea as supported by the ruling of the arbitral ruling that we secured 3 years ago.
Is it a little too late, sir?
Sorry?
Do you think it's a little too late?
No, it's never too late. Pinky, I would repeat, if you look at experience, territorial disputes takes a long time. What is important is consistency so that we cannot be deemed to have abandoned our claim.
But just very briefly, I want to go to the PhilHealth controversy, sir. But even what happened in Recto Bank, our fishermen in the Recto Bank, have you heard of any conclusion or investigation on the part of China? They were investigating back then, sir. Have we forgotten about this?
No, in fact, no, we have not heard. And this is the kind of attitude which we should not allow to go unchallenged. We should keep on, we have already said from the start, bring this to the international body. And that is the only way that we can keep pressure on China. Because China, I'm sure, is conscious of how they stand in the world community. And bringing this before the world community certainly will draw their attention, the world's attention to China and what they're doing.
Shift topics, sir. PhilHealth, the controversy, there was a hearing on this already. There are ghost claims, ghost patients. What is telling here is that according to that hearing, and you also said this, sir, there's a net loss of 26 billion.
Yes,
is this true? And unpaid claims of 48 billion.
That's correct. That is COA report. For the 5 years beginning 2013, they have already net operating loss of 26 billion plus about 48 billion in unpaid claims. That's over 75 billion. And I suspect, Pinky, that this is just the tip of the iceberg. We do not know how deep it is. We don't know how far it is and how prejudiced the actuarial life of PhilHealth is.
Exactly.
Given these losses, that's one, the actuarial life is an issue. Number two, the burden on the national budget becomes heavier every year. Especially with the universal health care law that we passed, in the next several years, the burden will be so much that I think in 5 years, we need something like 1.4 trillion, not
Where are
billion.
you going to get that money?
Well, we are imposing taxes.
Sin taxes.
Sin taxes. I authored that.
Yeah.
I pushed that. The sin tax. Now we are doing again other taxes. In other words, we burden our people with taxes in order to support the universal health care, which is very, very necessary. And now you hear of all of these anomalies. Pinky, I do not agree with with Mr. Morales that he needs more people. No, no, sir. What you need is a systems check. Because in this day and age of computers, I cannot understand how we cannot have a system. We must have a system. We must have a finance guy, because you're talking here actually about insurance, basically insurance and systems. And if you fail in these two areas, you can never solve this problem.
But here's a concern. If you're a PhilHealth member, sir, and you, most of us are, actually, dapat ho, halos lahat na tayo member ng PhilHealth. 26 billion in net loss, unpaid claims of 48 billion. Natatalo na po ng 26 billion, meron pang unclaimed na 48. What happens to these hospitals who are not being paid, sir?
Precisely. It's a chain reaction. The hospital, the regional hospitals, the public hospitals out there who are catering to the poor are using their maintenance and operating expenses to service the poor, hoping that they get reimbursed by PhilHealth. And if they don't get reimbursed, it becomes worse.
They're not going to service
they will not be able to service. So it's really a very difficult problem. The corruption there must be addressed. That is why, Pinky, I pushed hard that we should have a special audit so that once by the COA, so that once and for all we know what is happening there.
So just very quickly before we go on a break, sir, is the universal health care going to be affected with what was found out that PhilHealth is losing 26 billion and unpaid claims of 48 billion? Nanganganib ho ba ang UHC?
We will not allow it to collapse. But that is at the price of more burden on the national budget, which means, you know, it is a zero-sum game. You put it in PhilHealth, you remove it from you remove it from something else.
Yeah.
It's a zero-sum game. So that is why everyone should be concerned, and this is really something that requires immediate action. You know, Pinky, I do not know, and I will not pass upon the competence of those people in PhilHealth. But we have a law which I crafted, which would provide a vetting procedure to all these agencies, whether or not they are qualified to be appointed there. And if we just, at least we have a chance of getting the right people, if we just follow what is provided in the GCG law, which requires vetting of appointees to GOCCs, so that we get only qualified people.
Competent, yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
and we're not talking here about 1 million, we're talking about billions of pesos.
So you're hoping for a special audit on this by the Commission on Audit. Sir, we have
And a review of the qualifications of the pertinent officials.
All right. Very quickly, sir, anti-subversion law, there is a proposal to revive this. This is, of course, killed during the time of President
Ramos.
Yes, Fidel V. Ramos, sir.
Yes.
How can this happen? And I know you're definitely against this,
Yes.
sir. Ang sabi nyo nga, lakasan na lang yung Human Security Act.
That's
Okay.
correct. Lakasan natin ng Human Security Act. I must admit that there are a lot of provisions there which we can strengthen. But reviving the anti-subversion law first raises a constitutional issue of freedom of association. You are punished for merely becoming a member of the Communist Party of the Philippines. That is why it was repealed during the time of a security-conscious president like Fidel Ramos. I cannot understand what is happening, what the thrust is. They're asking us to revive the death penalty law.
Yes.
They're asking us to revive the anti-subversion law. These are laws of the 50s, which is now so outmoded. And we certainly assure our people that we will object to this. We will avail of every remedy, of every research, of every argument in order to prevent the revival of this draconian anti-subversion law.
Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon, sir, as I said, maraming salamat. It's good to see you again. Of course, we continue to monitor the developments at the Senate. Maraming salamat po sa inyo.
Thank you, Pinky, for having me again.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.